good morning, and welcome to the Brenda Perrman Show right here on TV 33, WHPR, Comcast 20 in Detroit. I am so excited to be here. Also, we have another internet address too besides www.tv33whpr.com. We have www.detroitcabletelevision.com. So if you tune into that on the internet too, you can see us. Also, you can see us on Comcast 20. As I said, if you want to call this morning, I think you might want to call because we're dealing with some history first and then some public relations next with Miss Tamikia Ashford. But we have first, my guest that you're going to be enamored with, him and his book. And his book is called Slave Genealogy, but of the Rulac family. But I'm going to get to my guest in just a moment. I just want to remind you that tomorrow is R.J. Watkins' birthday party, and we're inviting you out here on the plaza, the Willie J. Watkins Plaza, tomorrow from 4 to 9 p.m. It's going to be entertainment. Your host will be there and everything. You could talk to us about different things. I'm going to try and make it this year. I really want to make it because RJ will be 60 years old. That's what he says. In the meantime, remember that this afternoon we have Table Talk with Brenda Perrman, and that's going to be an exciting show. We have the ladies of Table Talk, and we will be stirring the proverbial pot. So a lot is going on, and now I'd like to introduce my guest to you, Judge Roy Rulac.
Yeah, thanks, Brenda, for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, come on up to the mic. Okay. Let us hear you. Let's make sure everybody hears you because there's so much to talk about. Judge Rulac retired as of a week ago, right?
A week ago, that's correct.
Oh, congratulations.
It's been wonderful so far.
Oh, wow. I know. I've been retired 3 years. Well, I'm supposed to be retired. Judge Rulac, this is your book, Slave Genealogy of the Rulac Family, French Masters, the Africans and the Africans they enslaved. And as you know, most of us are descended from slaves who came from Africa.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct.
But first I want to find out a little about you. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Marianna, Florida. That's in the panhandle of Florida, near probably equidistance between Georgia and Alabama. It's not the sunny part of Florida that we all know about.
Oh, is it near Pensacola or Jacksonville? Or?
No, it's 70 miles west of Tallahassee.
Oh, well, I've been to Tallahassee.
Yes,
I've been to
Panama City, 56 miles north of there.
Well, Tallahassee, I spoke in Tallahassee,
okay.
And I love that town because it kind of reminded me a little of Ann Arbor, a little bit, because of
yes.
college town and so forth. So you were reared there, right?
I was reared there.
So how did Judge Rulac or Roy Rulac get to Michigan?
Well, it's a long story, but I won't go through all of it.
Well,
I left Florida, left Marianna after I finished high school, went to Edward Waters College on a one-year scholarship, no money to return, so I ended up in D.C. After a few years, I found economic opportunity and a way to finish my education in Detroit. So I came here in 1968.
So economic opportunity, what was that?
Well, I needed a job. I was in school part-time, and I had an opportunity to come to Detroit, work full-time, and go to school.
You know, Detroit was good for that.
It was.
It really was good for that. The people can work, get their education. Also, in Detroit, we had junior colleges, too. We had, Highland Park Junior College was just a few blocks away, and I know that the former mayor, Dennis Archer, went there, while he was working and everything. So Detroit afforded people economic opportunity at that time.
It did. It was a good opportunity. Coming to Detroit from D.C. allowed me to sort of settle down and concentrate on studies and go to school, and it worked out very well.
What did you like about Detroit then?
Well, I came to Detroit in 1968, right after the riots. At that time, you know, except for the effects of the riot in certain areas, Detroit was a very, very beautiful city. We had the Avenue of Fashion, Grand River, Gratiot, they were booming, etc. And but since then, you know, we sort of saw the steady decline of the city, and now it's renaissance. So Detroit has been a fascinating place. We've seen it at its worst, and it's returning to its former glory, I believe. I'm excited about Detroit.
That's really interesting that you say that. I grew up here, and I'm waiting for those best days to come back. I mean, well, when I was a teenager, I can't relive it, you know, but it was a little safer. You could go on dates on the bus. I call them
buses.
on bus dates. You know, me and the date get on the bus. We go downtown to the show, get something to eat at
Right.
Flaming Embers and so forth and so on. But hopefully those days are coming back where safety, I think safety is a big deal, and
Of course,
safety
yes,
should be first. So then after you graduated, where'd you graduate from?
I graduated from Wayne State in 1970.
Wayne State.
Wayne State, and I got a degree there in business management. And shortly thereafter, I went to law school at the University of Detroit.
Oh, okay,
the
great
University
law
of Detroit
school.
Mercy now,
Right.
but it's the University of Detroit when
Right.
I was there in 1975.
Right. So did you practice law?
Well, I practiced law for very, very short time. Within 6 months of, within a year of becoming a member of the bar, I became a state administrative law judge.
Oh, and tell the audience what a administrative law judge
An
does.
administrative law judge does the appeals from state agency action. Every state has regulations that they are responsible for. And usually in most of those cases, they have the authority to take some action against persons or corporations or even government agencies. And an administrative law judge is part of the executive branch of government, and we hear the appeals from the actions of the state agencies.
Okay, very good, very good. Did you like it?
I did. I enjoyed it. I had a wonderful 37-year career and worked in a number of areas, including health and safety, public sector labor law.
Did you do Social
I
Security?
did Social Security. That's what I did. My last job that I left for about 7 years, I did that.
So, when did you start doing research on your family? And you have an interesting family, but why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I started this in the early 1980s. It was shortly after Roots came on television, the miniseries and the book by Alex Haley. It got a lot of African Americans especially excited about the prospect of tracing our roots back to Africa. So I and a number of others became involved. I joined the Fred Hart Williams Genealogical Society, the only society devoted to African American research in Michigan, and I was president of that organization for a number of years. So my research has expanded over 30 years.
Oh my goodness. So, where did you start? What did you do? Because your last name, Rulak, and it's spelled, ladies and gentlemen, capital ROULHAC, which is really a different last name.
Well, that was one of the reasons that I became involved in research after I left Florida, where the name was pretty common. There were many, many Rulaks in Jackson County, Florida.
Were they all related?
They weren't all related, but you know, it's hard to say who's related because
Yeah.
we can only go back so far, and we don't know those collateral relationships. But when I left Florida, Rulak was a rather common name, but when I went to D.C. and came to Detroit, people would always question me about how an African American with dark skin that I have end up with a French surname. And of course, I didn't know what to tell them. I sort of concocted a story that my ancestors were from Louisiana. I knew that was a French possession.
Right.
But that turned out to be not correct. So my initial quest was to discover how I ended up with the name.
Oh, wow. Okay, what were some of the things that you discovered, or where did you go first? Where did you go first?
Well, the first place I went was the Burton Historical Collection at the Detroit Public Library.
Oh, okay,
That's
right here.
That's a great resource if you're interested in finding out about your family history. Your first stop should be the the Burton Historical Collection. And the second thing you should do is join the Fred Hart Williams Genealogical Society. They have beginning classes there on how to do it. I went from there, I went to the National Archives, I went to the Library of Congress, I went to the basement of the courthouse in the county that I grew up in. And of course, this was before Ancestry and Family Search, where you
Right.
can go on the internet and shortcut a lot of these activities. But, you know, I went to Salt Lake City. They had a wonderful center there for research, the Allen County Public Library, all over.
Well, tell me, where did you find out that your family came from? I mean, your
Name.
well, not the name. The slaves.
Okay, well, I was pretty fortunate in my research. Most of the time during African American research, you can only go back to like 1870, and it's hard to
Right.
go back into
Right.
the antebellum period. I got lucky. I found the genealogical memoirs of the Rulac family, some memoirs
Wow.
that they had written in 1849. There were three brothers that came to France. The third one, whose name was Francis, he had spent some time in Haiti just before the Haitian Revolution came. And in 1849, 3 years before he died, he wrote the memoirs of his family, and he traced them back to the 15th century in France.
Oh, that's amazing.
And in those memoirs, I was able to trace where they were. You need to find the slave owner. I was able to go to the places they lived. They came to this country between 1777 and 1792, and immediately they married into families that had slaves, and then they became slave owners themselves.
But what could you find out where the slaves came from? What part of Africa?
I have not been able to find that out, but I know that initially they were in North Carolina. The brothers married, the first brother, Samet, married into a family who came from Virginia. And I suspect that people came in from Guinea, is what I'm suspecting, that most of the slaves in the eastern North Carolina area came from the coast of
Eastern
Guinea.
Eastern North Carolina. Okay.
Eastern North Carolina.
Okay.
But they probably came through Virginia. The North Carolina coast wasn't set up, well, it was too rocky for commerce, for slave ships to come there, but they probably came into Virginia.
Okay, so let's go back to the slave owners, the Rulacs.
Yes,
Okay, and they married into families that had slaves.
that's correct.
And then what?
And then they became slave owners, and in those memoirs, I was able to go to eastern North Carolina. The first time I went there in about 1985, I was there doing some research, and I was in Columbia, North Carolina, and I was headed out to the Outer Banks, and someone saw that I had out-of-state plates. And they said, well, what are you doing in North Carolina? I says, I'm doing research on Rulacs. And they said, well, there goes one there.
Oh, really?
And so I met lots of Rulacs, and
Black Rulacs?
Black Rulacs. And of course, they didn't know anything about their history, and I was able to share with them what I had discovered up to that time.
So what were some of the things that kind of stuck out to you as far as your people were concerned or the slave owners were concerned? Can you name two or three?
Okay. Yes, well, first of all, in the memoirs, I have a copy of the memoirs right here you might want to
Yes,
show.
yes.
Those are the memoirs that I was able to find. And in those 108 pages, there's only scant references to the fact that the French slave owners, that they owned slaves at all.
Really?
And so
Really?
I was able to.
Oh, we have a caller on the line right now. Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
Hi, Cousin Roy.
Hello,
It's
how are you
Dara.
doing?
Hello?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good this morning. I just wanted to congratulate my cousin, Judge Roy Rulac, on writing such a wonderful book. It's especially important as African Americans that we retrace our roots and always be aware of our history.
And what is
I
your
think
name? What is your name?
My name is Dara Harper.
Pleased to meet you, Dara.
Pleased to meet you as well.
And
I'm
Dara
a
has done some
playwright,
interesting things.
and I actually wrote a play about my great-grandmother, Minerva Rulak, and it's all in the family. I would love to extend an invitation to your viewers to see the play next weekend at the Charles H. Wright Museum.
What's the title of the play?
The name of the play is called Passing. And
Oh,
it's inspired
you wrote
by
Passing.
the
Is that with Maiwa?
Minerva Rulak.
That's right.
Is that with Maiwa?
Yes,
You wrote that. Oh, good.
I did. I did.
I'm happy to meet you. I know a lot about the play, and I had read your name. I had, and there was something else about it. But she's been doing it for about 2 years or so, right?
yeah, actually since 2009.
Oh, okay.
Our original production was in New York City. I lived there for 5 years, off Broadway.
Yes.
We started with the play back in 2007, and we've been all over the country.
Wow.
And as a native Detroiter, I'm always happy to bring it back home. We've done several runs at the Charles H. Wright, and
Right.
we have the run coming up next weekend, Friday,
And
July 12th.
Isn't it
Sunday,
with another
July 14th.
play,
Yes.
Dara? Isn't it with another play?
Yes, it's going to be, it's a summer theater festival featuring 2 one-woman shows. Passing has a running time of about an hour and 15 minutes, and then there'll be a 10-minute intermission. And then you can experience a new show from an up-and-coming, very talented actress and performer, April Day Roshan. She wrote a play called Amadou Me, and it's a one-woman show also about the state of poverty in America and the impact it has on our community. It's a very profound story. And after the intermission, we'll run her show, which is about 45, 50 minutes. So you have like a 2-hour theater experience and then a talk back if you want to stay and participate in that. So it's going to be quite a theatrical event to experience. I don't know if any of the viewers have ever seen a one-person show before, but it's really amazing to watch such talented actresses bring out all of these different characters.
Dara, would
So
you
I'd be honored to have
would
you
you
and viewers and everyone in the audience to experience it for yourself.
would you recap again? What are the dates and times again?
Friday, July 12th at 7 o'clock. Saturday, July 13th. We'll have a matinee at 2 o'clock. At that matinee, right before the show, we're going to be honoring centennials. And we have several people in our community over the age of 100 who will receive a special tribute. So if you are someone who is over the age of 100 or know someone who is that wants to participate, please have them call Jan, and she's coordinating that, at 313-461-5191 so that we can make sure that you receive your gift and are part of the tribute. After that, Saturday at 2 o'clock, we have a show at 7 o'clock. And on Sunday, we also have 2 shows, a 2 o'clock matinee and a 7 o'clock evening show. So it's a total of 5 performances.
Well, congratulations again on the success of Passing, and I'd like to encourage my audience to get out and see it at the museum. And I'm a theater person. I taught acting for many years and directed 2 off-Broadway shows in New York, and
Awesome.
I've directed over 100 plays. So I'm really pretty familiar with the show and with Maiwa doing the show and everything. So congratulations again, and hopefully I'll
Thank you
get
so
a
much. And Judge Rulak will be there with copies of his book. So he will be there, and he's going to be talking about he's our family historian. So he's going to be talking about the context of Passing. He's from Marianna, Florida, just like my great-grandmother. So he's going to be bringing a different perspective as a historian and also as an author of this wonderful book. He did so much extensive research over 20 years of research, and I think it's very important. So
thank you so
just
much
wanted to share that.
for calling. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
And break a leg.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was nice. We have another caller on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Brenda. This is Pat Usery.
Oh, hi, Pat. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I also know Judge Rulak, and I am just so proud of him.
Hello, Pat. How are you
I really
doing?
am. But I've got a couple of questions, real quick questions.
Okay.
And you may have covered this already. how long, and I know probably this is an ever-developing mission that you're on, but so far, how long have you been actually doing this?
This would probably be about 33 years I've been researching this project. It's an ongoing project. There's still more out there that I don't know. I'm going to go to Liberia in November. I was about to answer a couple of the things that I found out about the book. One of the things I found out is there are Rulak ancestors that went to Liberia in 1869 and 1870 because of the
from there, Guinea.
from North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina.
This is during Reconstruction.
Oh, yes.
They were dissatisfied with the things that were taking place during Reconstruction, and they decided that they could make it better in Africa. And I've met the Rulaks there. And
Oh,
I
that's
plan to go to
amazing,
visit.
isn't it?
And I also found out that there were Rulaks that served in the Civil War.
Now, I attempted to do that with our family. Many of our roots from our family are from Georgia.
Okay.
And so we met, and we attempted to start this task. And, of course, when we got ready to look at deeds, et cetera, we could not go back far enough, and we ran into kind of a stumble block. Like when you first got started, what was the very first thing you did after you decided, I want to find my roots? Did you go on a .com ancestry something, or what was the very first thing you did?
Okay, well, the first thing I did, of course, at that time, Ancestry and Family Search and the other search engines were not around, so you had to go to the library and get the microfilm of the census and go through the census record. First, you want to find out everything you can about yourself, your family, go back as far as you can. And usually you can get back to about 1870 before the slavery period. But in order to get beyond that, you need to...
After the slavery period.
During the slavery period. You can usually get...
1870?
1870, that's the first mention of slaves by name in the federal census.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. So 1870, freedom was by 1863, so the first census that they would appear in by name, unless they were free during slavery, would be 1870. And then the task comes of trying to find your slave owner. And once you find them, you need to trace where they were. And I was able to find probate records, wills, bills of sales, all kinds of things that showed my ancestors in their records. And since all of this was legal and slaves were more valuable than anything that the slave owners owned, they kept very good records. And so if you were to go to the courthouses in the county where your ancestors were, and you know the slave owner, you can look for their records. And one of the things
I had just one thing I want to say. We did do that, and where our biggest challenge came, it seemed like at some point one of my ancestors got in a tight with some money and had property and loaned or sold some property off to some other people, and then that's where it took a dive. But we're just gonna have to go back to it. You know, it's a huge task, but I do want to say thank you so much for just that information that you provided, and thank you, Brenda, for the variety of topics and subjects that you get into, and I just appreciate both of you.
Well, thank you. Well, Pat's been on the show, and she's a friend of the show.
Well,
and I hope to have her on again soon. And she just had a birthday.
I did, thank you.
Okay, Pat, we're going to have to get together and celebrate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Hey, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bye.
So this right here is the genealogical memoir of the family. Wow.
Family, yes.
Amazing. And you have pictures of the slave owners.
Yes, there are pictures of the slave owners in there.
Jeez.
So I was able to use that as a basis to research my family. What I did, each generation, there are about 4 to 5 generations of the French Rulaks, I was able to go back and find all of their slave history and add it into my book to
ladies and gentlemen, I just want to read something real quick. This third generation issue of Elizabeth Rulac and James Blount. Was that like that married or?
That's right. Blount.
Okay, Anne Jacqueline. She was born in 1805 in Washington County, North Carolina. But listen to a little bit of the narrative. At an early age, she showed a remarkable taste for literature, and in 1820, she was sent to be educated at the Moravian Seminary in Salem, North Carolina. Among the rigid disciplinarians of this school, she learned the lessons of industry and integrity, duty, and self-sacrifice, which rendered her in afterlife a devoted, helpful wife, a loving, faithful mother, an earnest, conscientious teacher, and an active, consistent Christian. It's interesting how they wrote. This is this is the slave owner. So,
The slave owner. Right, but then you go to my book and go to that section, you'll see that she was more than that. That she and her husband were slave owners, and I'm sure that I have some records in there showing their bills of sales.
Oh gosh!
Their wills
You know,
when they
every
died.
time I see a bill of sale, it makes me. It just gets me to the core.
You know, it's and everyone profess to be Christians, and treating their fellow humans in such manner.
The word in here, the reason why I brought this up, the word was integrity. How do you have integrity and you sell other human beings and you're, like you say, Christian? I don't know. It just is very, very difficult for me to wrap my head around that. Judge, now, what are you doing are you having any readings or anything or book signings?
Yes, there will. I'll be presenting at the Fred Hart Williams Genealogical Society on September 7th.
Now, how would people find out about that, the Fred Hart Williams genealogy?
They can go to the internet. We meet the first Saturday of each month at the Detroit Public Library, the first Saturday of every month.
Okay. At the Detroit Public Library.
Usually on the third floor in
So-
the Fine Arts.
So that's tomorrow.
Well, we don't meet in the summertime.
Oh,
So the
okay.
next meeting is in September, and in September also I'll be at the Source Bookstore.
Oh, okay, Janet's bookstore.
Janet Jones. I'll be there in September also.
Oh, right. Well, we have to keep up with you. Now, how would people find out if they want to contact you? How would they be able to do it?
Well, they can contact me at we have a website, RulacFamily.org, Rulac Family ASSN Association.org.
Let's spell Rulac again.
Rulac, ROULHAC, Family, FAMILY, ASSN.org. And the book can be purchased from that website, or you can go to www.createspace.com, and it's available there. And in about 2 weeks, it'll be available in a Kindle version.
Oh, wow, that's nice. So it'll be on Amazon?
It'll be on Amazon.
Wonderful. But it's more interesting, too, to hear him talk about this, and that's why I was asking you about dates. So let's keep up with the Source Bookstore. Wonderful, wonderful bookstore.
It is.
And so that you could come out and you could hear him. And also, Dara mentioned that he will be at the play.
At the play, that's correct, next weekend.
Next weekend at the African American Museum. So, and of course, I have to endorse Passing, which is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful piece. And congratulations to, your
Thank you.
family is so talented. And you found so much out about it. And I've read different parts of this book, and it's just amazing to me. So thank you. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having me. I enjoyed this experience.
Oh,
Thank you
wow.
very
You're
much.
going to do many more. I mean, you're going to do many more because people need to know about this. We need to search back, find out who we are, because it tells who our family was, because it tells us a lot about who we are.
Okay, and you mentioned the crime, et cetera, in Detroit, and I think a lot of it has to do with self-esteem, and if you know who you are, you know your family history, that gives you a sense of who you are, that you didn't
Absolutely.
just arrive here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There were a lot of sacrifices.
So we'll be back in just a moment with Miss Tamika Ashford. We'll be back in a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
And welcome to the Brenda Perrman Show right here on TV 33 WHPR Comcast 20 in Detroit. And if you want to catch us on the web, you can catch us at www.tv33WHPR or Detroit Cable, www.detroitcabletelevision.com. Now, I'd like to thank Judge Rulak. That was really interesting about our ancestors and everything. Now I have a PR maven here in Detroit. I have Miss Tamika Ashford. Good morning, Tamika.
Good morning, Brenda. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here. I finally got you. I've known
Yes.
Tamika for years. She's a wonderful, wonderful young lady. Always has the same pleasant attitude. And Tamika, before we get in, well, tell us first and foremost, what is public relations?
Public relations, in many regards, I would consider it to be a science. It's very precise, anywhere from heightening a person's visibility to crisis management, event management, media relations. It's a plethora of services out there in the marketplace.
How long have you been in it?
16 years.
I know, since you were a
16.
baby.
Yes.
I mean, she's a baby, everybody. She's a child here. No, she's a woman. But, Tamika, did you grow up in Detroit?
Born and raised in Detroit, Cass Tech graduate.
Another cast
Yes,
technician.
absolutely. I graduated from Wilberforce University.
Wilberforce.
Yes, HBCU,
Right.
and I
right.
majored in mass media communications.
And so what made you decide to do that? Were you just a communicator by nature, or?
I believe I always was, but actually it was my professor at Wilberforce University, Dr. Tanya Mora, who really introduced me to the field of public relations. And so she presented opportunities for me to go to Howard University in D.C. and really experience the world of public relations.
So when you came back to Detroit and everything, did you start off in PR or what?
Well, actually, yes. Right after I received my degree from Wilberforce University, I did work at a couple of newspapers. I started off at the Dayton Daily newspaper.
Oh, I'm very familiar with Bucky Albers.
Okay,
He was
yes.
the sports guy. I know all these guys
Okay.
at Dayton Daily News.
Yeah, so I got my feet wet there, and I actually
Wow.
served on the copy desk. And so I've always been in communications, and then right after that, I came back to Detroit. I tried so hard not to come back, but I made my way back here.
Detroit seems to
Okay.
suck you in. No, it draws you in.
Yeah, I had some awesome internships in Chicago where I worked with the Associated Press. And also, my first real public relations job was with Don Coleman Advertising.
Oh, yes.
So worked there and had really gotten my feet wet with
I think
Betty
you
Crocker.
worked there when I met you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And with Betty Crocker.
Yes, Betty Crocker, and at the time it was Daimler Chrysler.
Yes,
Worked on a
yes,
Chrysler account with
yes.
Randy Bullock. Yes.
Right.
We did the poetry event.
Yeah, spirit in the words.
I think I won that contest as well. I won the Prowler, the Chrysler Prowler for the weekend. Yeah.
Right. We had one here. We did them all over the country.
Yes.
So I got an opportunity. They dragged me along, and I got an opportunity to be all over the country
Mm-hmm.
with it. So, and that was a wonderful program by Alan Miller.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
I got to give thanks to Alan. I do. And, of course, Randy Bullock, she was involved in that also.
Yes.
So then what?
Then after that, I was able to work with a number of boutique PR firms. So I really, again, got my feet wet with Bassett and Bassett. I did some work with Kathy Ned, Margot Williams.
Oh, Margot. Margot's in Las
Absolutely.
Vegas.
Yes, I just spoke to Margot. Yes, we stay in contact. And that's the thing with public relations. Relationships. Even with former employers, I still stay connected. And I think that's important, especially here in Detroit. I mean, I know that they say it's 6 degrees of separation.
It's
but in
2
Detroit, I
degrees.
think it's 1.
1 or 2 degrees. Now,
Absolutely.
for a PR, say, for example, if I have a business, I make cakes or something like that, I'm going to start something just like that. Could I hire a PR person to enhance my visibility?
Absolutely, and I think that's key, really developing a plan of action as to how you're going to get your name out there, your product out there. And a lot of times you can't sit on the sidelines. You have to get out there in the marketplace. You have to be at an events. I mean, nothing happens when you sit on the couch. So I always encourage people to get out there, because once you're out there, you're continuously, improving your networking.
So public relations specialists can help politicians, authors, people who are starting businesses or are in business and want to move to that next level,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct. From the political realm, the private sector, the business sector, nonprofit, individuals, executive positioning. Again, there's a plethora of directions.
So when you develop a plan, you sit down with that person and you find out what they want to do, where they want to go?
Absolutely. That's what I always try to do, that is to see what are their goals and objectives, and from there I'm able to craft a plan that makes sense. But again, it's important to see what are their goals and objectives rather.
Okay, now let's go to Olivia Pope. That character on Scandal, she is, how should we say, a person who, like, helps people keep their reputation and everything like that. Tell me a little about that. Are there people like that who exist?
I believe there are,
Well,
but
that's
obviously,
based on a real person.
yes, Judy Smith, but obviously it's television, so of course there's more dynamics, and there's the love scenes, and obviously, having engagements with the President of the United States. I'm sure it's not really happening.
That's a little tight. But what I'm saying, say if I'm a politician and I'm in trouble, wow, that sounds like Detroit. Curse of the D.
Absolutely.
And I'm in trouble, would I, besides consulting a lawyer, consult someone who could help me with my reputation?
Absolutely. And the one thing that I always tell people, one thing about public relations specialists or practitioners, you can always give the advice, but it really is incumbent upon the person to decide if they're going to take that direction. You can do all of the prepping in the meantime before the cameras roll. You can develop the talking points, but once that camera is on, it's really up to that person to take the direction and move forward with the advice that you've given them.
We have a caller on the line. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Well, happy Friday to both of you.
Hi,
Happy
Theo.
Hey, I'm enjoying the show today.
Thank you.
I want to say that with the birthday party tomorrow, I would like to meet this young lady, and I'm sure that your guests would like to meet Judge Roy Rulock as well, and Dara Frazier.
Oh,
And for anybody that wants to be a vendor, I guess they didn't give you a flyer. But if they want to be a vendor tomorrow,
and
they
sell
can
the books.
come by the station and fill out a form. But it would be really great because you have good guests, and I know that folks would have an opportunity to meet you as well, maybe take a picture with you, and bring a little envelope, a little love offering.
A little love offering,
RJ
yes.
Watkins. Yeah, we got to
Yes.
get that out there. Let them
Yes,
know.
well,
Vendors
last
tomorrow.
week I was gonna summon it up with that today, but last week I told people to throw a little bit in that envelope because
That's right. And
this
if they
is
want to
how
be a vendor.
this is how we exist, and if people
That's
want to be a
right.
vendor, and then there are people who have shows here on the station who might want to heighten their profile locally or nationally or regionally. They can do that. Tamika, she also has, she specializes in that. And Judge Roy Rulock, who was on this morning talking about slave ancestry and slave genealogy, a lot of us like to know who our people were. I know that my people were, my relative who was a slave used to go around, after he was freed, went around the countryside, sat under a tree and told stories. And it's funny because when I first started teaching, people would always say, you got to have a story for everything. Well, my father had a story for everything, and I guess his father might have, and of course, his
And
father's
pass it
father.
down.
You know, and a lot of times, if we know about ourselves, we know why we are who we are. You know what I'm saying? Because you always wonder, especially, and I hate to kind of deviate, but as an artist, I always wonder because my mother is not into artistry. She's very practical.
But it was
And I
passed
always,
on to you.
right, but I wondered,
Right.
it's from my father. And I didn't find out till just a few years ago that he used to write her a letter every day.
Wow.
And here I am, a writer. I've done 3 books and everything like that, but I never knew where it came from. That's why it's so important for us to know
your history.
our history. And
that's
Judge Rulak and Tamika, I want to say that tomorrow out here in the plaza, 4 to 9 p.m., we're celebrating R.J. Watkins' birthday, and really, it's going to be a wonderful thing, a lot of entertainment.
That's right.
Of course, a lot of politicians will be here, I do believe.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Opportunity for everybody.
And we are
Yes,
broadcasting too.
Yes, yes. A wonderful place to be, a wonderful place to support. And if anybody wants any additional information about vendoring, they can call 931-2700.
931-2700. If you want to vendor, if you make things, if you want to sell them, there will be people here to buy.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Last year had to been, oh, geez, I think we stopped counting, but it must have been close to 300 people.
See? See?
So it's worth your time.
It's worth your time, and it's just a celebration of community too. So,
Right.
and the station, because we're the only one. We're
That's
the
right.
only one here.
That's right.
And we have to stay. We have to survive because people are able to lend their voice and be heard. People in the community, and you don't get that on 247.
No, a lot of propaganda there. But we also have to survive because communication, when those who want to take over, you know, the first thing they want to do is destroy your communication. And many black-owned stations around the United States are being bought out, put out, sold out.
Yeah, that's
etc.
true. That's true.
This is very important for us.
So thank you so
right.
much
You're
for
welcome.
calling us.
All right.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Peace.
Bye-bye. So, yes, they are buying out a lot of black-owned stations.
Yes.
And you notice, this is, I really wanted to mention this too with you, is the idea of, look what happened in Egypt this week, and they had a coup. I know that, and they took over the country, they ousted the president and so forth.
Yes.
I do know, I have friends who grew up in Africa and so forth, and a lot of times when they would have a coup, the way they do it is they go and announce it on television. We're taking over, and
Absolutely.
that's television is so important, and it's important in this community because of the limited voice that we have in the community.
And if I may add, social media, even being able to watch this program for it to stream, I mean, the internet has really opened doors.
Right, absolutely.
So that you don't necessarily have to depend on your traditional 247. Although we certainly welcome those media outlets, it just opens the door for a wider audience with social media.
It absolutely does, too. And Tamika, you've worked for a politician before.
Yes, absolutely. Council member Alberta Tinsley Talabi, now she's state representative Talabi, so absolutely. I was with her office for about 3.5 years.
What is the difference between working with a politician and working with a celebrity? I mean, entertainment celebrity.
Well,
because in this town, politicians are celebrities.
Well, I've never worked for a celebrity per se, but I would have to say working for an elected official, my tenure there, no day was ever the same. I mean, it really opened the door for me to connect with a number of people from on a grassroots level to those high ranking. It just really opened the door and really, although there's textbooks and you're in school, but really being there on the 13th floor of the city county building, you really got an opportunity to see how government works here in the city of Detroit, and so it just
And
really,
sometimes it got hectic, didn't it?
very much so. But absolutely, you learn how to manage those things, and so again, you're just developing another skill set. You have to always be on your feet because you never know what's going to happen. So again, you have to always be prepared.
And is part of your job protecting your person that you're doing the PR for?
Well, in a situation like that, maybe it's providing counsel. It's providing counsel on in a lot of regards. It's providing counsel and direction, direction.
And kind of telling them, well, maybe you shouldn't speak out on that right yet, or
Yeah, timing is everything too. And when you do decide that you want to speak, maybe it's just one media entity that you're going to deal with that would have the exclusive
that's
to that story.
interesting. That is very, very interesting. Now, what is the most interesting task you've ever done?
Oh my gosh!
Or
it's
challenge? Tell me about a challenge you've had.
Well, a challenge, I guess I'll take it. Well, there's been several, but one that just always stands out, I would have to take it back to my Don Coleman advertising days. At that time, I was working on the Betty Crocker account, and we had a Recipes for the Soul contest in Atlanta, Florida, Louisiana. Long story short, it was for Black History Month.
Oh, shortest month of the year?
And we had somewhat of a crisis management because it was to uplift women of color in the industry. And we had
cooking and baking.
Absolutely. And we had someone of non-African American descent to win the contest.
Really?
So that was my first crisis management there.
That is interesting.
It was very interesting, but we were able to manage it.
Wow. We have a caller on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. Hello. Hi, I hear something. I can't hear you very well. Are you speaking into the phone? Can you call right back? Please call right back. Thank you. I couldn't hear her.
Yeah.
I know it was a lady, but I couldn't hear her. What I wanted to ask, well, something like that, when that occurs, that is something you really have to dig in there and do some.
Absolutely. You're managing a person's emotions. You're managing how you're going to move forward with the media.
So
all
you
of
have
those
to
things.
keep your head at all times,
You
right?
got to keep your cool. Got to keep your cool. And you should always be 3 steps ahead of the game.
Now, are you with a firm right now?
Well, I just officially launched the Ashford Agency.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just officially launched that. And again, I've been doing public relations for 16 years, have worked again at a number of firms. But within this last year, really just taken a hard look. And so I just officially filed the paperwork, and I'm getting my website prepared, and absolutely.
That is so exciting, so exciting. I'm always contemplating getting a PR specialist, not for the show necessarily, but for other things that I do.
You need a publicist, Brenda.
Yeah,
You do.
I know, but I also need some big money. But no, not big money, but I know there's a way to work with people and stuff like that. And I'm really thinking about that more and more, because with my next book that's coming out, not the book of poetry, but my other one, She Who Limps is Still Walking, which deals with that devastating, well, almost near devastating accident that left me paralyzed, but I ended up walking again.
And we're so glad that you're here, yes.
Well, and due to, and it's about Ford Hospital and a lot of different things involved there, and how a traumatic experience can change your character almost. It can heighten the best of your character.
Yes, yes.
And so that's the one that I probably would want to be summoning you about.
Okay.
And that will be out later this year. So,
Awesome.
But if we have any authors out there, if we have people out there who want to heighten their level of visibility and need some guidance on this, how would they contact you?
Well, they can start off by sending me an email. I respond to all emails. So that email address is TN Ashford, ASHFORD, then it's PR as in public relations at gmail.com. Again, TNA Ashford, PR at gmail.com.
And aren't you with the PR Society?
Yes, actually, I am the president of the National Black Public Relations Society Detroit chapter. We have chapters all over from Atlanta, D.C., New York, Florida. So I'm here representing Detroit, and I'm also involved with the Public Relations Society of America, and I'm also a member of the National Association of Black Journalists.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm in that one.
Oh, yes.
I'm in that one. I did join. Of course, we talk about that.
Okay.
Because I want to come to some meetings. I have something. I always have something to say. Black media, I want to get into this real quick.
Okay.
Black media, how do we, now nationally, there are some people who are on all the time on MSNBC and CNN.
Mm-hmm.
They go up and down. They tend to shift us around sometime.
Yes.
I see Soledad O'Brien.
Yeah.
Right now, she's supposed to be working for Al Jazeera.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
I mean, which is the Arabic station and everything. But one of the stars, I feel, right now, as far as media and political journalism, is Joanne Reed. She's smart.
Mm-hmm.
She is so smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really, really, I'm proud of her. She's a woman of color. She's on MSNBC, and she's been subbing a lot. And people have her on their shows. In fact, I heard they're trying to get her a show, actually,
Awesome.
because she is that smart. Now, you look at Roland Martin, who came into prominence, especially during that Don Imus situation. And CNN just took him off a few
Right.
months ago. What do you think is in the future for black journalists?
I personally think that you have to constantly position yourself. I don't think you can leave it in the hands of those media outlets. I think it's a constant rebranding, and repositioning. You have to, again, as I stated earlier, be ready to switch gears. I think the workforce, particularly for people of color, has changed so much, and so I think you have to kind of create your own vehicles.
Absolutely, and that's why we're glad you have launched your own agency. I think the best is yet to come.
Yes, it is.
You
Thank
still
you.
look like you're 16 years old
you.
at best, and you're a beautiful woman, and I congratulate you, and I thank you for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you to join me today at 1 p.m. for Table Talk with Brenda Perrman. We have the ladies on. We're stirring the pot about the Trayvon Martin trial and Detroit politics and some other things, too. Also, a reminder tomorrow that we are having R.J. Watkins' birthday party, and bring a little birthday card with a little birthday something in it for the station so that we are able to keep on bringing you quality programming here. I appreciate R.J. Watkins, Henry Tyler, and the people of WHPR, Theo, for just keeping on. And sometimes it's hard to keep the lights on, but we do, and we're able, and we get news happening right here on TV 33. And Tamika, we need you. I will talk to you all later, and thank you so much for coming. And everybody, I'll see you this afternoon.
Thank you, Detroit.
Let's
Thank you,
bring
Brenda.
the issues
Thank
to the table on Table Talk with Brenda Perryman.